Hello, everybody. Pura vida. Pura vida because I am in Costa Rica at El Lugar, which I'm sure if you've been listening to my podcast, you've heard me talk about El Lugar before. It is so phenomenal, this place. Okay, so I am here at the moment and I just did a podcast this morning for somebody else, an interview, and it was about money. And it got me looking at this because we were talking a lot about, I guess, like the history of money and what I've chosen. And I thought, I don't think I've ever done a podcast on this. So I wanted to talk about this because, if I grew up and had money and always had money, growing up in Australia, white woman, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff, you can label it all you want and define it all you want. Then you probably, if I had that and I was talking about money tools, you'd be like, oh yeah, she's always had money. But the thing is, I didn't. I created myself to be an absolute financial mess. And I know a lot of you know about the book I wrote, the second book, Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. First book is Joy of Business, and the second one is Getting Out of Debt Joyfully. And it's translated in quite a few different languages. And I just wanted to talk today and hopefully give you some insight and some tools to my voice changed, tools in changing your current financial reality, no matter where you're at. Like if you're in debt, if you have money, if you have more money than you ever thought you would have, if you have more debt than you ever thought you would have, whatever you have currently chosen is your financial reality. That's what you chose. Sit with that for a second. That's what you chose. Now, what would you like to choose? If there's something different that you can choose, okay? So I am going to run a few processes throughout this, and I want to talk about something that we call platforms. If you want to know anything about the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement, you can go to theclearingstatement.com. So I want you to tap into the energy, and I'm probably going to shut my eyes a few times here because I just do tapping into the energy, okay? You can too. If you're driving, don't. Okay. So I want you to tap into the energy of where your financial reality is right now. Okay. And what comes up for you? What comes up? Are you happy? Are you struggling? Are you stressed? Are you doubting something? Are you anxious? Do you have joy? Do you have ease? Have you decided you have hardship? Like, what is the energy? Because it is an energy. What is the energy that comes up for you? Just put your attention on it, everything that is. Times a godzillion. Will you please, 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 please destroy and uncreate it. Right now, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, probads, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So one of the things that we have been talking about recently in Access Consciousness is platforms. What's a platform? A platform is the place that you create your entire reality based on the definitions you have of you. I'm a bit of a visual girl, so I literally like looking at, I do classes on stage. So if I look at the stage, the size of the stage, or, if you jump on your bed, right? If you jump on your bed and that's your platform, okay? So everything that makes you feel comfortable and familiar is on that bed, okay? Hopefully you've all got a bed. So let's use the bed as the example, okay? Now, when you jump off that bed, you're off your platform. So maybe you are choosing something that is not as familiar, it's not as comfortable. So everything on that platform, the bed, is everything you've decided of who, what, where, when, why, how you are, okay? So let's do this. Who have you decided you are with money? Now notice there's an energy that comes up. You may quickly answer it. Like maybe you're doing the dishes right now, listening to the podcast, and you go, blah, that's what you've decided you are. Who have you decided you are with money? Hopeless could be something. Great could be something, whatever that is. And it could just be an energy, okay? Please don't disavow the energy. We use words, we think, right? We speak. What you think and what you speak creates your reality. It really does. What if we could go beyond that? And a lot of the times it's so energetic is the stuff that we pick up on. And my question is it your point of view, or whose point of view are you buying of who you are with money? Okay. So everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, not good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. Okay, now I'm going to ask you, what are you with money? Same thing might show up, something different. Don't judge it, just perceive the energy. Everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. Where are you with money? And notice as I'm asking these questions, are you present with it? Or do you disappear? You know, when you're listening to something and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, because you start thinking about something else. What if you could be present? How many times do you not be present with something so that you actually don't have to choose? You don't have to acknowledge what you've created, because then you can change it. So where are you with money? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. When are you with money? Notice the different energy, okay? And this is all the places of how you define yourself. Take away the definitions. You have more choice. So when are you with money? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. Why are you with money? Again, different energy. And do you know how many people I've spoken to and they judge that their family has money or that they married into money? You created that. Pat yourself on the back and go, damn, girl or boy, I chose that. Why are you with money? Maybe my family has money. Maybe I'm a trust fund kid. My husband makes a lot of money. My wife makes a lot of money. Okay. Why are you with money? Don't make it hard. Okay. Is there only one thing you want hard in life? Yes. Everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. How are you with money? How are you with money? And here's my question too, is how you have decided and defined you are with money. Is that true, or is that what you've been told you are with money? Everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So it's literally your definitions you have of you, of who, what, where, when, why, how you are with money, is how you create your entire reality. So you have the justification, because they are justifications of, I was born into a family with no money, or the country I was born into, or whatever that is. That's the story you tell yourself that keeps you from creating what you could be choosing. So all the stories that you have, all the justifications where you destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right, wrong, good and bad, Pock and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, probeds, creations, spaces, and beyond. Okay, if you give up the definitions that you have of you, I mean, you can do this with anything, okay? And I may do another podcast in regards to relationships or bodies or something like this with this platform stuff, okay? Because if you're actually willing to give up the definitions of you, which also create the judgments and the limitations and the barriers, you can have a different reality. And you can have a different reality with money. Oh, I did not have my microphone on. I'm hoping that it ends up okay. Anyway, you can have a different reality with money, okay? So just even ask yourself, like write this down on a Post-it note or something. Who, what, where, when, why, how am I with money today? Who, what, where, when, why, how am I with money with my family? Who, what, where, when, why, how am I with money with my friends? Who, what, where, when, why? Who, what, where, when, why, how am I with money, with myself? And everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and pod, all 100, shorts, boys, poveds, creations, bases, and beyonds. So if you were creating your life, what would you choose? If you were truly choosing to create your life, not rely on anybody else or anything else, what would you choose? Okay, just start looking at that as a question that you can ask yourself daily. So I wanted just to go through a little bit of the story that I have with money, because I truly do think that I created all of this so that I could talk about it and I could say, hey, I used these tools and guess what? They worked. Okay. So the family I was born into, we weren't rich and we weren't poor. Um, I think when I was about 4 years of age, they started to, my dad started to be a little bit more successful. And I remember when Gary Douglas said to me, who's the founder of Access, yeah, you came in going, I'm not having this. Like, we're going to have more money than this. And I think when I was about 4, we moved to a bigger house and dad started being, having more clients, etc. Now, my dad has his own story. He was a refugee from Lithuania during World War II to Australia. And he's got an incredible story. And yet I so wish I had recorded him. By the way, as a sidebar, if you have a parent that you love and adore and has some good stories, record them, or a grandparent, okay? Because I asked my dad some questions, but I didn't ask him enough questions, and I really wish I had that. He was such an incredible man, and by his story, one of his main things was he desired all of us to be financially stable, because he could see if you had financial stability, this was his point of view, then you had more choice. No, it's true. But there was a little bit of a lean onto money mattered. Now, money is a major contribution, and I have learned to actually love money and have money and be willing to receive it. That's not where I used to function from. So I did go up in Sydney, Australia. I went to a private school. They ended up having more money. But I remember mum telling us stories about how she couldn't afford to go to the dentist and all these different things because of what they were choosing with the kids. Anyway, that was their story. Okay. Now you have yours. What I'm asking is, let's not live by our story. It's the story we've told ourselves to justify our platform. What if we could give that up? And what if you could choose something entirely different? So I definitely did that thing of being like the petulant, teenager, and even going into my early 20s of, I don't need any help. I don't need money. I don't need anyone to give me anything, blah, blah, blah. I can do it all on my own. But part of that was I wanted to prove that I could create with no money. How many of you would like to prove that you can create with no money? Can I tell you, I'm now in my mid-50s. It's way easier to create with money, okay? You are the source of creation. Money is not the source of creation. You are the source of creation. And yet, you know what? Just start receiving. It's way easier. So I would do all of that, and I'd sleep on lounge room floors. I would, friends' places and things like that, I could never afford a hotel when I was traveling or any of that. It's, my point of view was, when I found Access Consciousness and they used to have these classes in Costa Rica, I was like, God, I could never get to Costa Rica, especially from Australia. That is so expensive and so far away. Absolutely not a possibility. Well, here's the thing, guys. If you have that as part of your platform, you will create that as your platform. Now, I was really lucky. I was looking through these photos that a friend had of being in Costa Rica. And I started to get like a bit, I guess that energy of sad. And he goes, "What's up?" And I said, "Oh, I'm just looking at these photos." And I had come to the conclusion I could never get there. I could never get to Costa Rica. I could never have this as my reality. And he went, "Really?" I went, "Yeah." And I said, "This photo in particular, this one is just really pinging me." And he looked at me and he went, "That photo?" And I said, "Yeah." And he went, "Simone, that photo, we're in Sydney. That photo is mixed up with all the others." And it was so cool because at that moment I realized oh, that puts everything into perspective. You know, I was in Queensland. I could jump in a car and drive to Sydney. You know, the flight was really cheap. I could get to Sydney. And I realized I was creating this limitation with my life by going, oh, Costa Rica is too far away, too expensive, and all of this, etc. I had decided something and I had judged something and I had concluded it. So when this photo that was in Sydney, I went, oh, okay, well, that's actually possible. So it started to sort of create this chaos in my world. And can I say, you want to ask for more chaos in your world? How many of you are looking for clarity? And clarity will create havoc. Now, what do I mean by that? Clarity will create havoc, as in you will only function from the definitions, the platforms, the limitations, the judgments. Instill chaos, everything is available. Everything. Look at the whole planet. It's a freaking ecosystem and you're a part of it. Okay. It's not, doesn't have clarity. It has chaos, you know, from everything, from the animals, the land, the soil, the wind, the rain, the sun, all of it, it's chaos. Allow your life, including your financial reality, to have some chaos, right? Are you ready? Are you ready? On 3, let's just, like, if you can, put your hands up, and all I want you to do is gather the energy, put your attention on your financial reality, and on 3, let's instill chaos, right? 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Just this energy of just like, fuck yeah. Okay. This is happening. Yeah. Okay. So, that, like, look at the moments in your life where you did change your point of view, or you could change your point of view. So for me, that changed my point of view. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have Costa Rica as a reality. I have no idea how, because it's not the how. Okay. This is not about working out how. How, remember, is part of your platform. It's just, I'm having that. And, you know, there's so many different things throughout my life that I chose where, as I said, I chose to prove that I could create with no money. And then I spent years overseas, had a whole lot of fun. It was amazing. It was great. And, you know, I had pretty much, I was traveling with no money. And interesting enough, in Spain, it was during the Olympics, actually, in Barcelona, I was camping and with a friend of mine, and we went into town and we went to a supermarket and came out of the supermarket. We had a car. We had our tent set up at the campsite, and that morning we had cleaned up, like, because we put all our clothes away and everything and put them all in the trunk of our car. You can see where this story is going, right? And we came out of the supermarket, and just to paint the picture, I had a swimming costume on, shorts, and I had this T-shirt on that I'd ripped the sleeves out of, so I made it into a singlet, and it was the Chicago Bulls singlet T-shirt, and it had, because I was dyeing my hair at that stage myself, and I had red hair dye all over it. Was the T-shirt I used to dye my hair, right? And I walked out of the supermarket. And I actually, luckily, had my passport in my hand, my passport and my wallet, the 2 things I had in my hand. And we'd gone to buy some stuff and came back to the car, and everything was gone. Our whole car is just like that. We had the car, everything within the car was gone. We did have a bottle of vodka that was underneath one of the seats that we'd brought in Andorra, because Andorra is a tax-free place. So we'd brought this bottle of vodka. We had that underneath the seat. And then we got back to the campsite. We had nothing. I didn't even have a pair of underwear, toothbrush, nothing, you know. We were literally in shock, and we were sat there and we were like, okay. And so we were like, we've got the vodka. So we thought, let's have a drink. But we went to the police station. I was in tears. Like, the police actually said, you need to ring your insurance company. We literally had insurance, which was great, because I was so upset. And we went back to the campsite, and there was a whole bunch of Australian guys that just happened to be camping near us, and they'd been out to some soccer match, like during the Olympics all day. They'd had a few drinks, and we told them what happened, and they were like, what? And so what they did, it was hilarious. They were like, oh my God, you've got nothing. So they were like taking off their T-shirts and going, here, have my T-shirt. So my friend was like, quickly, throw it in the tent, you know. So we had these T-shirts. Like, so we'd get up in the morning and go, what T-shirt do you want to wear? And be like, oh, I'll wear Pamplona, Running of the Bulls or something. Because they all had these, Munich Beer Fest T-shirt or something. So we each had a pair of shorts each and a few T-shirts to, choose from for the next week. And that's what we had. But we ended up getting $5,000 each on insurance. And for us, that was a hell of a lot of money at the time, which meant we ended up traveling more around Europe because we had the insurance money. So money showed up from all of our stuff getting stolen. Little sidebar story there, but there's so many things with money that we make significant, that we define, that we create this point of view on it. And it doesn't have to be your reality, okay? You can have more, you can be more with money. What energy can you be today that would allow more money to show up? Everything at that is times a godzillion. We destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, proveds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. With Access Me, you can literally have access consciousness in your pocket. And the best part, you choose how much. There are 3 different subscription options, whether you just want to dip your toes in or have full access to over 25 years of classes. Go to access.me and start today. So after I traveled around Europe, America, and then Europe, I came home and I had no money, like no money. So I moved back in with my parents and I was like, oh, this is not fun. My father was pretty cool, but my mother has never really been that kind to me my whole life. So I was like, I really want to live in this energy again. So therefore I went, okay, I need to make more money so I can move out of home. So I did, but I still had that struggle energy. And perhaps this is what the majority of people choose, struggling with money every week. So, it would get to like Wednesday, and I'd have to pay rent on, by the end of the week. And I'd think, how the hell am I going to pay rent? And I'd have to hustle to pay rent. Okay. Just come up with another idea or where can I get this from, etc. And I'm going to say I spent quite a few years with that energy in my world, like struggle. How many of you are familiar with the platform, with the reality of struggle? It's like who, what, where, when, why, how are you with money? Do you choose to struggle? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, proveds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So, when I created a business and I did all these different things, I created a few businesses and I was making money, but I was doing that classic thing of spending way beyond my means. If you had seen me, you would never have been like, oh, she's poverty stricken. I acted like I had money. I would be like, yeah. I had this great ability to get loans from institutions or another credit card or, delay a payment or something like that. It's like I just kept accumulating everything. How many of you are creating that as your reality and you keep accumulating debt everywhere? So everything at that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, proveds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So I came across Access Consciousness, which now I've been working with Access for 25 years, and it matched the energy of what I desired in my world and in this world, on this planet. I was creating things previously that I had this, this desire, this like, let's change the world, let's have this, let's change how we are with people and blah, blah, blah. And then when I came across Access, I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I'm aware of, what I know, okay? What I know. And the one thing I'm going to say to you, which Gary said to me when I first met him, and I just love him for it, is he said, don't trust me, trust you. Okay? How many of you have a platform where you trust others and you don't trust you? Is that working for you? Everything of that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, proveds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So I started using Access Consciousness tools. Now, can I say the basis of access consciousness tools is being in question, is not going to a judgment, is not going to a conclusion. It's asking questions. I mean, Socrates, you know, he always referred to question everything. He probably did question everything with a little bit more fight in his world. And yet what access is referring to is being in question. Is this working? Like, just because something worked today doesn't mean it's going to work tomorrow. It's like, how many times do you choose something and you keep choosing it, but you know that you should change something? Whether it's with your relationships, your body, money, business, where you live, anything. What in your life currently do you know you should change and you haven't been choosing to change it because it's familiar? You know this energy. Remember, platform is all the definitions and all the places that you have this familiar energy. So everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100 shorts, boys, proveds, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So I started being in question. And for me, it was so not my world. Like, I don't know about you, but at school, we were taught to have the answer, not be in question. And so I started just trying to flip everything in my world. Instead of going, oh, this is not going to work, I'd go, well, could this work? You know, what can I add to this? Or where is my energy required today? Not waking up going, this is what I have to do. Instead asking, what can I be today? What can I be with this project? What can I be with my financial reality? What can I be with my body? What can I be with my business? What can I be in my life today? And when you start being, it takes a different element. It takes you out of the defined reality into a reality of question, choice, possibility, contribution. Oh, yeah, and chaos. So I started using the Access Consciousness tools and they were working. My life, I was just waking up happier. And I remember the first intro class I ever went to, I woke up the next morning and I was in bed. And usually I would get up this time, go get a coffee, go to the gym, I had a ritual. And I woke up and I was in bed and I was just like, what the hell happened last night? And I couldn't recall anything that this guy was talking about. I was like, at that stage, the clearing statement was something entirely different. It was like POC, FIP, something, As in everything with access, it's changed and grown. And I was like, I don't know what happened last night, but the one thing I knew was something was different. So if you've been to an access class or if you've never been to one, just play with the clearing statement too. It's phenomenal, okay? And you don't even have to remember it all. Just say POC and POD, okay? Because POC and POD is the point of creation, the point of destruction, of where you create basically a limitation, a judgment, a barrier, a conclusion, rather than, oof, what else is possible with this? Even that question, like, what else is possible with your financial reality today? Again, if you were creating your life, what would you choose? So I was using the access tools and they were working. I was waking up with more joy in my world, more happy. And because I used to, get stressed about certain things and I thought that was my life. And I realized it didn't have to be. But the one thing I wasn't doing was using the tools of access with money. So, and some of you may have heard this story. Now, if you have the access.me app, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. If you have the access.me app, this is an app. You don't need it. You can, get it on your phone, etc. And there's 3 that you can join. You can join, it's called The College, which is, I think, like $265 a month. And you have access to like 25 years worth of classes with myself, Gary, Douglas, and Dane. It's incredible. Or the second one you can call is called The School, and that's $65 a month. And there's access to a whole lot of things, including all of my Getting Out of Debt Joyfully classes. Okay. I think there's a whole lot of business done different on there as well. A lot of Dr. Dane Here's stuff. And you can also just click on it and join for free for 3 days, right? And start listening to a few things. I highly recommend check it out, okay? Access.me. Go there and you'll find all the details. But here's the thing. In the Access.me app there's a class, it's literally called the money class. If you subscribe to this podcast, we'll have the link to the money class in the show notes. So if you are on the Access.me app, you can find it. And you can hear me in there. I'm such a rookie asking all these questions. And even the tone of my voice, like the whole frequency of me is so different. But this is a class that was in Gold Coast, Australia, many, many, many years ago. And I organized the class. Like, Gary came over. It was a 2-day class. We had 55 people. I remember it was $250 for the weekend. And he was so excited that we had 55 people in this class. And it's the class that I was sitting in there listening to him talk about money tools. And I was like, oh, here we go again. Here we go again, blah, 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 money tools, do this, blah, blah, blah. And in my head, I'm thinking, what the fuck are you doing, Simone? You know that you have some shit going on with money and you're literally sitting here refusing to receive anything. How many of you know that you could change your financial reality and yet you spend so much time and energy on choosing not to? Everything that is, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all 100, shorts, boys, provads, creations, bases and beyonds. So I sat in that class and I went, what if I just started choosing some of these tools? What if I chose some of these tools? I didn't tell anyone. I went home. I sat in my 2-bedroom apartment in Brisbane. One of the bedrooms was an office. I sat in my office and I started to look at my money and calculate all my money, how in debt I was, etc. And I realized I was $187,000 in debt. And I went, okay, I need to do something different here because what I'm doing is not working. What can I be? Okay. So I made the demand. I'm going to find out what is it like to actually have money? Like, what's it like? I know what it's like to struggle. So what's it like for you? Do you know what it's like to struggle? Do you know what it's like to have money? Do you know what it's like to stress about money? Do you know what it's like to be joyful with money? Do you know what it's like to receive money? Like, what are the energies that you're currently choosing? And what if you could change it? So I set myself a little target, 3 months. I'm going to use these tools. Now, all of the tools I used are in 2 books. One, Money Isn't the Problem You Are, which that book is actually based on that class, the money class that's in the access.me. And then Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, I talk about how I use the tools. I talk about a whole bunch of different things. So if you don't have that book, I highly recommend it. It's also an Audible. But how I implemented these tools and different awarenesses that showed up. So I sort of take you on a little bit of a journey because what I find is we have a story that is very familiar. Now, why do we have that? Because we tend to start duplicating each other on shit, on crap, okay? What if we didn't do that? We judge when someone has a lot of money and we go, oh my God, now they're just rich. Well, what if you actually duplicated that and went, I'll have that. I'm going to outcreate that. Like, outcreate me, okay? I've created more wealth than I thought that I would ever have in this lifetime. Outcreate me. And then I'll outcreate you. And then you outcreate me. Like, let's all get filthy friggin' rich, okay? There's not a lack of money in the world. There's people choosing lack of money, okay? Which one are you? I would like to create and generate more money. And what I'm looking at, which is a whole other story, is what am I spending my money on today? Is it creating a future for me and the planet that is congruent with what I desire? That's how I sort of start to choose rather than how I did choose. Okay. So another money story in that as well. But what I'm talking about today is all these different energies that I've been with money and all these different choices that I made or didn't make and where it got me to here. Now, using these tools of access with money started to change the way I looked at money, the way I beed with money, the way I embraced it, engaged, and actually learned to have it. Because one of the things I would do is I'd get money and I'd be like, well, where's it got to go? It's got to go somewhere. It can't be mine. How many of you have the platform, the definition of this can't be mine? It has to go somewhere else. And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right, wrong, good and bad, POC and Pod, all 100 shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So what's your story with money? What's the who, what, where, when, why, how you are with money? Just notice the energy. And even notice since the beginning of the podcast and me running a few of these, clearing statements, questions, processes, it has something changed. Is there a door that is opening up that you could open that door up more and walk in and go, wow, this is a different reality. I'd like to find out what this is. You're the only one that can choose that, my friend. You are the only one that can choose that. I can't make you choose anything. Nobody can make you choose anything. Have you noticed that? But what is it that you would like to choose? Will you please let the door open? Let the universe contribute to you and walk through it and find out what's on the other side. And everything that doesn't allow you to choose that, take some action. Will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, bases, and beyonds. Are you willing to give up your story, your Dios mío, your trauma and drama about money? Everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, bases, and beyonds. Look, I also have some energy pools as well that is in my shop. But I've got one free one on my YouTube channel. It's a money energy pool. And I've also got a business energy pool. Okay. They're free. It's on YouTube. Check it out. Right. We'll have them in the show notes. So don't forget to subscribe. But right now, let's finish off this podcast and do a little bit of an energy pool. Okay. So what is an energy pool? You're like, what? How the hell do we do that? Let me take you through this. Okay. And just be with it. Okay. So if you want, you can shut your eyes again. Now, what I want you to do is just be aware of your body. Like put your hands on your body somewhere, maybe on your face. Just like, hi, body, because it's you and your body, okay? And as you take a big breath and breathe out, I just want you to let go of all the walls and barriers, all the platforms, all the who, what, where, when, why, how you are, even if it's just for 5 minutes, okay? Another big breath. And as you breathe out, just relax your body. And I want you to reach out across the entirety of the planet. Whatever city you're in, country you're in, just perceive the energy of your city, your country. Now go further out across the entire planet. Australia, Costa Rica, Iceland, Italy, Portugal, Saudi Arabia, everywhere, Russia, everywhere. Japan, Singapore, across the entire globe, across the entire planet. Canada, America. And just notice, even as I say these countries, what is the different vibration in them in regards to money? Just be aware of it. Don't judge it. Just be aware of it. Let's add China, Germany, Ireland, Scotland, Spain, Croatia, Slovenia, Papua New Guinea, New Zealand, Indonesia. Notice there's a different vibration, okay? What if none of that was yours and none of it was real? And everywhere that you are buying a certain vibration and frequency that you must have in regards to money. Sweden, Norway, Finland, different again. Where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and Pod, all 100, shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, spaces, and beyonds. So keep reaching out your awareness across the entirety of the planet. Now I want you to go even further. Tap into the whole universe. All the planets, the stars. And as you look down upon the earth, the animals, the land, the mountains, the seas, the ocean, the lakes. Go right deep down into the earth, into the soil. What are you aware of? Is there a judgment? Is there a problem in regards to money? Or do you make it a problem? Another tool, what if you never had a problem? What if you had a situation? Because if you look at a problem is designed that you have to solve it. You have to fix it. What if there's a situation? You can ask, okay, I have this situation currently. What action can I take that would allow this to change? So as you're aware of the entirety of the universe, I want you to tap into the energy of money. Just the flow of money, the fluidity of money, how malleable it is. Not the judgment of it. No, there's a lot of judgments around money. As I said before, there's not a lack of money. There's people choosing lack of money. Don't be one of those people. Choose to be a being that receives. Not just money, just receives. All the energies that you've been refusing to receive, where you destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all 100, shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, bases, and beyonds. Okay, now pull the energy of money from around the entirety of the planet to you, your body, and through you. Okay, so it's just got this flow, this energy. It's almost like, add some sexualness, as that orgasmic energy of just like that turn on of so much money showing up in your life that you're like, maybe you have an orgasm in public. That would be terrible. More. Amp it up, okay? Every business project idea that you have, there is so much money that is available for you to choose, create, and generate with it. And take a big breath in, and all the platforms, all the who, what, where, when, why, how you defined and decided you are with money, finances, destroy and uncreate it. Throw that shit away, all right? Wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all 100, shorts, boys, proverbs, creations, bases, and beyonds. What would it be like to receive more? And just let that energy flow to you, okay? It's like to you and through you, so it's all around you. It's like this spherical awareness, this spherical receiving. So it's not just in front, it's not just from the side, it's not from behind, it's everywhere, okay? Everywhere. Everything it doesn't allow you to receive and have more show up, will you please destroy and uncreate it? Times a godzillion. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pod, all 100, shorts, boys, provads, creations, bases, and beyonds. Cool. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful for all of you for being here with me on this podcast of Choice, Change, and Action. And please share it with your friends, share it with anybody. Just pass it along, because for me, I would like to create and generate more consciousness on the planet, whatever it takes. That's my target. That's my ask. What would it take for that to show up? So please subscribe, write a review. I'd love to have a review, whether you listen to this on, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, blah, 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 all of those different platforms. If you can, write a review and slide into our DMs on the Instagram account and let us know what you would like me to be talking about as well. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Enjoy your day and enjoy your choices. Bye-bye. Adios. Ciao.